Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Harry woke early the next morning. And there's Aunt Petunia knocking on the door, Harry thought, his heart sinking. All right, Harry mumbled, I'm getting up. Harry scrambled to his feet, so happy he felt as though a large balloon was swelling inside him. Harry tried to wave the owl out of the way, but it snapped its beak fiercely at him and carried on savaging the coat. Hagrid, said Harry loudly. Finally, Harry pulled out a handful of strange-looking coins. Harry counted out 5 little bronze coins, and the owl held out its leg so he could put the money into a small leather pouch tied to it. Best be off, Harry. Lots to do today. Gotta get up to London and buy all your stuff for school. Harry was turning over the wizard coins and looking at them. Harry dropped the bit of sausage he was holding. Never mess with goblins, Harry. Harry followed Hagrid out onto the rock. How did you get here? Harry asked, looking around for another boat. They settled down in the boat, Harry still staring at Hagrid, trying to imagine him flying. Seems a shame to row, though, said Hagrid, giving Harry another of his sideways looks. Of course not, said Harry, eager to see more magic. Why would you be mad to try and rob Gringotts? Harry asked. Harry sat and thought about this while Hagrid read his newspaper, The Daily Prophet. Harry had learned from Uncle Vernon that people liked to be left alone when they did this, but it was very difficult. He'd never had so many questions in his life. There's a Ministry of Magic? Harry asked before he could stop himself. Blimey, Harry, everyone would be wanting magic solutions to their problems. Harry couldn't blame them. Hagrid, said Harry, panting a bit as he ran to keep up, did you say there are dragons at Gringotts? Hagrid, who didn't understand Muggle money, as he called it, gave the notes to Harry so he could buy their tickets. Still got your letter, Harry? He asked as he counted stitches. Harry took the parchment envelope out of his pocket. Harry unfolded a second piece of paper he hadn't noticed the night before and read. Can we buy all this in London? Harry wondered aloud. Harry had never been to London before. Hagrid was so huge that he parted the crowd easily. All Harry had to do was keep close behind him. If Harry hadn't known that the Dursleys had no sense of humor, he might have thought so, yet somehow, even though everything Hagrid had told him so far was unbelievable, Harry couldn't help trusting him. If Hagrid hadn't pointed it out, Harry wouldn't have noticed it was there. In fact, Harry had the most peculiar feeling that only he and Hagrid could see it. Can't, Tom. I'm on Hogwarts business, said Hagrid, clapping his great hand on Harry's shoulder and making Harry's knees buckle. Good Lord, said the barman, peering at Harry. Can this be? Harry Potter. What an honor. He hurried out from behind the bar, rushed towards Harry, and seized his hand, tears in his eyes. Harry didn't know what to say. Then there was a great scraping of chairs, and, next moment, Harry found himself shaking hands with everyone in the leaky cauldron. I've seen you before, said Harry, as Daedalus Diggle's top hat fell off in his excitement. Harry shook hands again and again. Doris Crockford kept coming back for more. Harry, Professor Quirrell will be one of your teachers at Hogwarts. Potter, stammered Professor Quirrell, grasping Harry's hand. Can't tell you how pleased I am to meet you. But the others wouldn't let Professor Quirrell keep Harry to himself. Come on, Harry. Doris Crockford shook Harry's hand one last time, and Hagrid led them through the bar and out into a small, walled courtyard where there was nothing but a dustbin and a few weeds. Hagrid grinned at Harry. Harry's head was swimming. Right, stand back, Harry. He grinned at Harry's amazement. Harry looked quickly over his shoulder and saw the archway shrink instantly back into solid wall. Harry wished he had about 8 more eyes. Several boys of about Harry's age had their noses pressed against a window with broomsticks in it. Look, Harry heard one of them say, the new Nimbus 2000, fastest ever. There were shops selling robes, shops selling telescopes and strange silver instruments Harry had never seen before, windows stacked with barrels of bat spleens and eel's eyes, tottering piles of spell books, quills and rolls of parchment, potion bottles, globes of the moon. The goblin was about a head shorter than Harry. He had a swarthy, clever face, a pointed beard, and, Harry noticed, very long fingers and feet. Hagrid and Harry made for the counter. We've come to take some money out of Mr. Harry Potter's safe. Harry watched the goblin on the right weighing a pile of rubies as big as glowing coals. Once Hagrid had crammed all the dog biscuits back inside his pockets, he and Harry followed Griphook towards one of the doors leading off the hall. "What's the you-know-what in Vault 713? Harry asked. Harry, who had expected more marble, was surprised. Harry tried to remember left, right, left, middle fork, right, left, but it was impossible. Harry's eyes stung as the cold air rushed past them, but he kept them wide open. "I never know," Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the cart. "What's the difference between a stalagmite and a stalactite?" A lot of green smoke came billowing out, and as it cleared, Harry gasped. All Harry's! It was incredible. How often had they complained how much Harry cost them to keep? Hagrid helped Harry pile some of it into a bag. They went rattling over an underground ravine, and Harry leant over the side to try and see what was down at the dark bottom, but Hagrid groaned and pulled him back by the scruff of his neck. "How often do you check to see if anyone's inside?" Harry asked. Something really extraordinary had to be inside this top security vault, Harry was sure, and he leant forward eagerly, expecting to see fabulous jewels at the very least, but at first he thought it was empty. Harry longed to know what it was, but knew better than to ask. Harry didn't know where to run first now that he had a bag full of money. "Listen, Harry, would you mind if I slipped off for a pick-me-up in the leaky cauldron?" He did still look a bit sick, so Harry entered Madame Malkin's shop alone, feeling nervous. "Hogwarts, dear?" she said when Harry started to speak. Madame Malkin stood Harry on a stool next to him, slipped a long robe over his head, and began to pin it to the right length. "Yes," said Harry. Harry was strongly reminded of Dudley. "No," said Harry. "No," Harry said again, wondering what on earth Quidditch could be. "No," said Harry, feeling more stupid by the minute. Said Harry, wishing he could say something a bit more interesting. Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Harry and pointing at 2 large ice creams to show he couldn't come in. "That's Hagrid," said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. "He's the gamekeeper," said Harry. "I think he's brilliant," said Harry coldly. "They're dead," said Harry shortly. But before Harry could answer, Madame Malkin said, "That's you done, my dear," and Harry, not sorry for an excuse to stop talking to the boy, hopped down from the footstool. Harry was rather quiet as he ate the ice cream Hagrid had bought him, chocolate and raspberry with chopped nuts. "Nothing," Harry lied. Harry cheered up a bit when he found a bottle of ink that changed color as he wrote. "Blimey, Harry, I keep forgetting how little you know, not knowing about Quidditch." "Don't make me feel worse," said Harry. "I bet I'm in Hufflepuff," said Harry gloomily. They bought Harry's school books in a shop called Flourish and Blots, where the shelves were stacked to the ceiling with books as large as paving stones bound in leather, books the size of postage stamps and covers of silk, books full of peculiar symbols, and a few books with nothing in them at all. Hagrid almost had to drag Harry away from curses and counter-curses, bewitch your friends and befuddle your enemies with the latest revenges, hair loss, jelly legs, tongue-tying, and much, much more, by Professor Vindictus Viridian. Hagrid wouldn't let Harry buy a solid gold cauldron either. It says pewter on your list. But they got a nice set of scales for weighing potion ingredients and a collapsible brass telescope. While Hagrid asked the man behind the counter for a supply of some basic potion ingredients for Harry, Harry himself examined silver unicorn horns at 21 galleons each and minuscule, glittery black beetle eyes, 5 nuts a scoop. Outside the apothecary's, Hagrid checked Harry's list again. Harry felt himself go red. Harry now carried a large cage, which held a beautiful snowy owl, fast asleep with her head under her wing. A magic wand! This was what Harry had been really looking forward to. Harry felt, strangely, as though he had entered a very strict library. He swallowed a lot of new questions which had just occurred to him, and looked instead at the thousands of narrow boxes piled neatly right up to the ceiling. Harry jumped. "Hello," said Harry awkwardly. "Harry Potter." Mr. Ollivander moved closer to Harry. Harry wished he would blink. Mr. Ollivander had come so close that he and Harry were almost nose to nose. Harry could see himself reflected in those misty eyes. Mr. Ollivander touched the lightning scar on Harry's forehead with a long white finger. He shook his head and then, to Harry's relief, spotted Hagrid. Harry noticed he gripped his pink umbrella very tightly as he spoke. Well, I'm right-handed, said Harry. He measured Harry from shoulder to finger, then wrist to elbow, shoulder to floor, knee to armpit, and round his head. Harry suddenly realized that the tape measure, which was measuring between his nostrils, was doing this on its own. Harry took the wand and, feeling foolish, waved it around a bit, but Mr. Ollivander snatched it out of his hand almost at once. Harry tried, but he had hardly raised the wand when it too was snatched back by Mr. Ollivander. Harry tried. Harry took the wand. He put Harry's wand back into its box and wrapped it in brown paper, still muttering, "Curious, curious." "Sorry," said Harry, "but what's curious?" Mr. Ollivander fixed Harry with his pale stare. Harry swallowed. Harry shivered. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky as Harry and Hagrid made their way back down Diagon Alley, back through the wall, back through the leaky cauldron, now empty. Harry didn't speak at all as they walked down the road. He didn't even notice how much people were gawping at them on the underground, laden as they were with all their funny-shaped packages, with the sleeping snowy owl on Harry's lap. Up another escalator, out into Paddington Station. Harry only realized where they were when Hagrid tapped him on the shoulder. He bought Harry a hamburger, and they sat down on plastic seats to eat them. Harry kept looking around. "You all right, Harry?" Harry wasn't sure he could explain. "Don't you worry, Harry." Hagrid helped Harry onto the train that would take him back to the Dursleys, then handed him an envelope. "See you soon, Harry." Harry wanted to watch Hagrid until he was out of sight. He rose in his seat and pressed his nose against the window, but he blinked, and Hagrid was gone.